In our modern day and age, there are so many games with microtransactions that I feel like it's easier to ask the question, what games don't implement shady monetization schemes? It's a sad state of affairs when you consider how gaming used to be back in the good old days when developers had to sell their games on the merit of their quality. Now, that's not to say that it's all doom and gloom. There are still plenty of game studios out there who uphold themselves to certain standards and prioritize player experience above all else. One such studio is Santa Monica, Sony's first-party studio who you will best know for their work with the highly regarded God of War series. Almost 2 years ago at E3 2016, they announced a brand new entry starring a much older Kratos alongside a Norse mythology setting. It goes without saying that the game looks incredibly gorgeous, and while there are those worried about how different the game seems to play compared to previous entries in the series, I for one think it's great that they're mixing up the formula. Then, towards the end of January 2018, it was announced that God of War would be releasing on PS4 on April 20th, 2018, which is around a month and a half away from the publishing of this video, so not that far off. Now, with all the anxiety surrounding microtransactions, it's understandable that some are worried that God of War might fall prey to predatory practices. One Twitter user in particular spotted an icon towards the top section of the game's menus that is very reminiscent of what one might see in a game featuring premium currency. So naturally, he proceeded to ask Santa Monica Studio if this was indication that there would be some form of monetization scheme in this game, one that locks certain type of content behind a paywall, cosmetic or otherwise. From there, Cory Barlog, God of War's game director, swiftly responded to the tweet with one simple message: no freaking way. On top of all that, website GameSpot reached out to Sony for further clarification regarding if God of War would feature any kind of premium currency that can be bought with real money. And the response that the website got from Barlog was no, not even a little. In other words, what's being shown in the photo is likely some form of in-game currency that you can earn through gameplay, or a part of some kind of system that ties into the game's character progression mechanics. More importantly, this means that we can buy and experience God of War without having to worry about developers or publishers trying to swindle us. They are selling us a game, not a live service or whatever, through an honest and upfront one-time transaction, plain and simple. It's a chunky game at that, with developers having estimated that the game would take between 25 to 35 hours to beat, which is not bad at all for a mainly linear action-adventure game. And throughout all those hours, the game won't be pinging us with notifications for us to pay our way through devaluing the experience laid out before us. And this is why I love Sony and PlayStation. I love that despite being one of the biggest publishers in the world, despite owning some of the most valuable game franchises, and despite all the money they could stand to earn by implementing manipulative microtransactions, they show restraint in the name of gaming. These are folks who actually seem to give a damn about the industry and consumers they represent. It is worth noting, however, that Sony did say late last year that they have plans to explore microtransactions, which is rather worrisome. This statement came shortly after Andrew House's departure from his position as CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, replaced by John Kodera, who was previously responsible for building up the PlayStation Network infrastructure. Now, microtransactions aren't inherently bad. If the pricing model is modest, the content is substantial, and none of it interferes with the core gameplay in egregious ways to strong-arm players into shelling out cash, then great. We've got games like Warframe showing us one of the better monetization schemes that work in tandem with its free-to-play nature. But on the other end of the spectrum, we are seeing the likes of EA trying to nickel and dime players at every turn through glorified gambling mechanisms. If Sony can forego including microtransactions in games like God of War where they absolutely don't belong, find a way to fairly price microtransactions while offering substantial new content, and avoid chance-based monetization altogether, then we don't have too much to worry about. Only time will tell what the future holds though, but for now I couldn't be happier to see how strong Sony's first-party lineup has been for their highly successful PlayStation 4 platform, and I couldn't be happier that the publisher is allowing its first-party studios like Santa Monica to remain principled. These are just one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on all of this in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. It is completely optional, but donating even as little as $1 a month will go a long way in helping this channel grow. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!